times it's just show off. Most times it's just like people who say paparazzi. That's another word for show off. Like, we actually do not really value God. We just do it for people to see that this girl loves the things of God. This girl fears the Lord. She's always in church and all. Maybe you're in church because you've not gotten that admission you're looking for.
Yeah.
You have nowhere to go. You're not learning any skill. Like, you're not involved with.
Yeah, you don't have a job.
You don't have a job. You don't have extra things you do. So the only place that you can go and while away time, and you're just being religious about the whole thing, but you actually do not know if God is even worth it. What the things you're doing. You're actually just following the crowd, coming to church, going for concerts here and there. But do you value God? Do you value his presence? Now I see that we get a lot of things wrong in the way our posture, and in the way we behave, in the way we act in God's presence, in the sanctuary and all. You know, we don't value God's presence that much. And I'm speaking, I'm a part of it. I'm not accusing anyone, but I am a part of a body of Christ. And I see the things that we are not time conscious. Like, we take the things of God for granted. Like, you can just walk into the church at any time and your phone rings, and then you step out of the church to answer that phone. If that phone call is not a matter of life and death, you know, those are some of the things we do. You know, when you value a thing, it guides your behavior
towards that thing. Exactly.
Your responses towards that thing should be able to tell whether, you know, they are how we value people naturally in life. You know, how I relate to you may be different from the way I relate to another person. You just be like, this person is just disturbing me. You know, all those things. You hardly even pick calls from people you feel are not really worth your time and all. You know, the way you relate to a person shows how you value that person. The way you conduct, the way you carry yourself, the way you're always quick to just respond to that person
when he calls,
tells me how much you value that person. You know, that excitement you have when a loved one calls, you know, when your fiancé calls you, you know, that excitement, you're just fast. You just want to pick that call and talk to that person.
Exactly.
Do we have that excitement for the things of God? Do we value the things of God? You'll be in church and all through, you're just on phone. You're just on Facebook. Why did you now come to church? If you know you have the weakness, let me say it. Most of us have phone weaknesses.
We're like almost like screenagers.
Thank you.
We're always on the screen.
Do you understand? You can't do without touching your phone and all. And you go to church and you feel like they are wasting time, or now they are doing announcements, or choir is singing. Let me just go through my phone, and then you're chatting.
No.
That shows me that you don't even know why you are in the presence of God. That everything that is being done, from the announcements, from the songs, from the prayers to the message, you're in the presence of God. And if you value God's presence that much, it should tell me from how you carry yourself. It should tell me from how you respond to worship. You know, most times we are in church and we are not even involved in the things that are going on in church. We just sit down. We are just so uninvolved. We are just carried away. It shows that we actually do not even know the God we worship.
Yeah.
We don't even know why. Why? If you don't know the reason of doing a particular thing, you will abuse that thing. You will abuse it anyhow, anyway, because you do not know the purpose of a thing is not abuse. Thank you. Abuse is inevitable. So I see that we have not done well. I am a part of it, and lately I've been asking God to help me that when I go to church, I keep my phone at home, so that I don't even want to use my phone to say I want to go through. I want to use the e-Bible. Or, you know, distractions, they come in 1,000 ways. A message will just pop up, and Fred, you'll be carried away. You know, you just want to open it, and before you know it, you're on your phone. So we've not done well, especially this phone thing. I don't know. It's a distraction to us.
Serious distraction.
It's a serious distraction to us. That the first thing Let me ask you, Fred, when you wake up early in the morning, what do you reach out for? Your phone.
Your phone.
I reach out to my phone.
Your phone.
Even if it's not to chat.
You just want to
but
check.
I can
just on your data, and then you just want to see all the updates on Facebook.
Do you understand? And it's a problem. It's a problem because it's eating deep into our personal time with God. When you wake up in the morning, you're meant to have fellowship with that person you value the most. Who do you talk to? Do you know how sweet it is that you're sleeping and then your phone just rings and then you just see that is your loved one calling you? You know what I mean? That special person calling you. See, for the rest of that day, that's how, I don't know, that's how it just sets the day for you, you know. But talking to the person, the one person that matters the most to us is not even our priority. We just want to reach out to our phones and chat and reply messages and all. So I'm saying that there are lots of issues, not just the phone. We have not done well.
Yeah, in the first place, I was even thinking of the consciousness of God to begin with. Are we even conscious
God conscious
of God? A lot of times when it has almost become just a religious kind of gathering. Each time we come to church or each time we gather at a place to do what we call worship, it's almost like it's just religion.
Yeah.
Because the consciousness of who we have gathered to worship is not even there to begin with. The consciousness is around the music. The consciousness is around what we are wearing. Are we looking good? The consciousness is around the ambience, the beauty of the place, the aesthetic nature of where we are gathering to worship. The consciousness is about the person standing to lead in one aspect of the worship activity or the other. So a lot of times our consciousness on the God we want to worship or we intend to worship is not even there. So how do you intend to worship the God that you are not even conscious of his presence to begin with? And so you see, that is where the value system is affected. Or that is probably where the manifestation, you know, of our poor value system as regards God and worship, you know, gets to be elaborated, gets to be amplified. Because in the first place, we have not even bring him to the fore, you understand, of our consciousness. Is behind our consciousness. It's something that just comes when probably somebody begins to preach or something begins to happen. But from the first place, coming into the church with the consciousness of who you're coming to worship is largely missing. I give you an example. If you have an invitation to visit or to see the governor of this state, or to see the president of Nigeria, or even to see the president of the United States of America, if you have that kind of privilege, I am pretty sure, Panam, tell me how you're going to react.
You already know me.
Let's just get to hear it.
See, you already know.
Yeah.
See, don't even take it far. Don't take it to president, or what did you say, of the United States, but don't take it far. Bring it to as low as Peter Obi.
Peter Obi is one of the aspirants.
Right now, he's like the popular person right now.
And other popular ones,
And let's just say he calls me to come and do his music project.
Wow. That's massive.
My brother,
I'm sure you're going to be on your best.
See, I'll start calling people. I'll call you, the Fred. This is what is on ground.
Yeah,
in fact, I will start
part of your convoy.
Thank you. You know,
that's a human being.
Yeah, that's a human being
that God has created. But largely, when we want to go to the presence of God, we don't have as your example, or if you decided to use another person, like maybe our father, the ECWA president, for example, you know, as much as you're making the preparation, what is in your mind, basically that's what is in your mind. So you are dressing up for the person you want to go.
Focused on that.
Everything around your dress, the person you want to see. But you see, in our case, when it comes to God's consciousness, we hardly have that that consciousness that we are going to see our God. We are coming to the presence of God. We are only focused on us. How do I look? How will people see me? And the other time, this is how I look. I should look better. Today, the other is very, very poor to begin with. So you see, and that shows the value that we attach to God. We now start attaching our values to the things that we intend to utilize to do what we call worship. But we never attach that right now in our time when it comes to how much worth, we show to God. It translates into our worship. You cannot worship God truly, genuinely, completely if God's worth to you is lower than many other things around you. It's almost like mixing up the worship of God and idolatry. Because anytime you begin to focus on certain things and you give that thing your 100% attention, you are giving that thing that kind of attention shows that thing is worth more to you
than
other things, and God inclusive.
I don't know. Is it because we don't see God physically?
Probably.
Because we can't actually see him with our bare eyes. We feel him, and then his presence that is indwelling in us and all. But say God comes as a person, how would you respond to him? How would you respond to him? Is it because we don't see God that we do things anyhow? Things are different right now. Talking about the old time dispensation when Christ didn't come, they actually did not see God, but they saw his move. If you just messed up right now, bam, your punishment is there. God will come like a mighty wind and just tumble your whole generation. They get it there and then. But right now, we are in the grace.
Yeah, I think
dispensation, and then we take things for granted.
Yeah, I think partly I will agree that it's because we don't see God. But this is the scene that I want to actually elaborate. It's not actually the physical scene. I'll just say a lot of times the reason why God's worth to us is not fully established is because we have not seen God with the eyes of our heart. We have not experienced God. Because each time you experience God, you will be left dumbfounded, with no other reason than to worship God. Like there's nothing else that will matter. At that period, probably you've experienced certain moments when you're worshiping, not even music. You're just spending time with with God and in fellowship. At that time, every other thing might not actually matter. And I think that is the reason why when you are on a fast, a lot of things just gets watered down. Yeah. Especially a very long fast.
Yeah.
You begin to lose interest on a lot of things around you, and then your interest becomes more around God.
Yeah.
Why? Because in a way, your senses, your body, all the cells in your body have been deprived of the energy they need to get focused, on certain things.
On other things, yeah.
So you deprive them of all the energy, of all the nutrients they need to actually begin to get angry, to actually begin to, look for trouble, to actually begin to go to terminals or to go to the market and buy certain things. Like your attention is just about God and God alone. So I think it's true. We don't get to see God. We don't get to experience God. And that affects our value, our value system. If you ask Moses who God is, He's not just going to write a sentence. He's going to write an encyclopedia.
That's right.
He's going to write voluminous books on who God is. No wonder we saw a lot of books, you know, associated with some of the writing, the documents that he has actually kept. You know, because he has encountered God first from the burning bush, and then all the manifestation, you know, in Egypt, or with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and all the manifestation out of Egypt on their way to the promised land and all that. He saw God manifesting in different ways. So our experiences are actually very important. They are very important ingredients that helps our valuing of God, that helps how we establish God's worth.
How we see God.
How we see God.
Yeah.
If we don't have, even when we say God is all-knowing, God is all-powerful and all that, until we have an experience of that, it will not translate into genuine worship. It's just going to be a theory, another theory that we've been told that this is what God is. And you know, the knowledge of God doesn't end with just an information. And that's where even somebody can go to the seminary and yet not have an encounter with God, because as much as you can actually study theologically and do a lot of things, but there is a level of experience from your communion with God that will make all that you are learning from the theological seminary to be more visible, to be more clear, you know, to settle in your spirit beyond any other person, because or another person from another faith can go to the seminary and learn the same thing you're learning.
That's true.
And he will display that head knowledge theologically, but there is no experience, there is no encounter. And so that person cannot really worship God.
That's true.
You know, because he just has information about God. He has not experienced God. You know, I have information about you, Panam is this and this, but I have not met you. So all that I know about you is based on what was told by someone that probably encountered you. So, but when I encounter you one-on-one, I can really tell who Panam is. And that will inform the way I'm going to relate with you. And probably build a relationship with you and all that.
You know, Fred, what will help us right now as believers, as children of God, is that we encounter God. You've mentioned encounters while you were speaking several times. Is that we truly encounter God, so that how we respond to Him changes. If you do not have an encounter with God, you will just remain a surface Christian without an experience. You don't have an experience with God. You found yourself being born in a Christian home and doing all those religious activities and all, but you really don't have an encounter with God. It's my prayer lately that, God, if you're all powerful, show me your power. I want to. I don't want you to be an ideology to me. I read about you in the Bible. Beautiful. But why can't I want to experience the God of the Bible. I read that you walked on waters. I want to experience you. I read that you healed the sick. You raised the dead. And you said, greater things shall we do. But we are still here. We are still here. Sometimes it baffles me. I remember when Dad was one of the episodes, he had crisis and we took him to the hospital, and there was this child that was beside his bed. That night I left feeling burdened, feeling pained, and asking a lot of questions. It's good to ask questions.
It's good to ask
when you're
questions.
confused, but you know, it's good to ask questions. You may not even have replies. God, you may not even have answers, but it's good to ask questions. Someday you will get an answer to it. And then that boy had the sickle cell. And I was there and I was asking myself questions. God, if you said greater things shall I do, why can't I do? I wasn't even looking at my dad. I wasn't even focused on my dad. I was pained looking at the pain this boy was going through. And I was like, why can't I just even pass? Like Peter. I don't need to say a word, lay hands, or do anything to cause drama or attention to myself. Why can't I just move and, Lord, my shadow heals this boy? And I left that day. I was pained. I was asking a lot of questions. And my mom just called to say the boy passed. When I left, like, he passed within an hour. I was pained, and I'm questioning my Christianity. I'm questioning my Christianity. If I cannot shine the light, if I cannot also be the reason why other people see that there's worth in this God we are serving, and come to Christ by my deeds and the things I do, greater things shall you do. What are we getting wrong? It means that we don't have an experience with God. Yeah. We just read about him, we go to church, and he's just an ideology to us, not an experience. You know, it's my prayer that we experience the different dimensions of God, that we experience him as a healer, we experience him as a protector, experience him as a provider, experience him in the different forms he is. Let's experience his power. Let's see his glory and his might. I don't know about you, Fred, but lately I've been having this hunger to I want to know God. I just don't want to read about you. I don't want to hear about the things you've done. I want to experience it right now in my dispensation and in my generation. I want to know it for myself. I think it's
a genuine yearning, Panam. You see, in the scripture, we know of one of the greatest apostles of all time, Apostle Paul. At a point in his life, he began to desire what you're desiring. And I'm asking myself if Paul of the scripture at certain time in his life can say, I want to know Christ,
that I may know him. After doing exploits and doing all those things, and he still said, I want to know you. Kai.
Then it goes a long way to say that we can never have enough of God.
That's true.
And that is why probably we need to really establish the fact that as much as we're talking about God's worth, we're not talking about something that is unchanging. Because if you have an ideology, if you have an understanding of how much God is worth to you, and that understanding has never changed, then you have not been growing. You have not been growing.
That's true.
If you are growing every day of your life, another dimension of God will be opened, or probably every week, or probably every month. Something must just dawn on you that, well, this is something profound. I never saw this.
Something different.
This experience is new, and it keeps enhancing your life of worship. You know, and there's so much in God that we cannot just establish that this is what God's worth is to me, and that's all. That settles it. It is a changing thing, and it's changing from level to level, you know, from this level to the next for the better, because we are growing in God. And that's just
but the thing is,
what
Fred,
we need to establish.
how many of us have even started the journey? How many of us
a big question.
Have even started the journey of knowing God for ourselves, for experiencing God for ourselves? We are still the same since they gave birth to us. We've not grown in anything. Nothing has changed in our lives. We are just focused on the human life.
You've been doing devotion for 15 minutes.
What has changed about your life?
It has remained 15 minutes for 20 years.
Every day.
For 10 years, for 5 years.
It's not even about 15 minutes, because I believe that if you're consistent with what you do, see, someday God will grab you.
Yeah.
God will grab you.
So definitely the timing will be altered.
The timing will be altered.
More.
You will desire more, and all.
You'll experience.
You've been a Christian since they gave birth to you. Have you grown? Can you tell me about your experiences with God? Can you tell me about your encounters with God? You're talking about the different dimensions of God. Do you even know any dimension at all of God? Have you experienced him for yourself? No. You're still the same. Since they gave birth to you, you're still the same. Your spiritual life is still the same. You're just focused on having a good life, in quotes, without the one that actually created you and the good life. You go to school, you finish, you hustle and do your NYSC. When you're done, you hustle, get the job. As much as those things are important, we chase those things with the whole of our energy, but we don't even chase the one that owns it all, that owns us all. Everything. We are busy chasing shadows and chasing shadows. As much as those things are important, but the most important, we're talking about worth and value. Who is the most valuable person to you in your life? It's not the person that created you and made you in his image and made sure that you're in this era, in this dispensation, and brought you alive for a purpose. The one that has your breath, the one that has that owns everything you have, the one that owns you, that can take your breath at any time. What are we talking about? What do we place value on? We chase other things, we chase money, we chase women, we chase men, and we don't even chase God. We don't even desire God. Desire to speak, hear him even speak to you. Has God ever even spoken to you? If not, then I think we are all getting this thing wrong. We need to go back and ask God, can we start now? Yeah. Mercy. Take me from crutch. Yeah. Let's start now. Take me from crutch and lead me to wherever, whatever high institution you want to lead me to. You can't keep being a babe. You can't keep being a babe in Christ. Because if you don't know God, if you don't experience God, there's no how you can worship him. There's no how you can even respond to him the way you're meant to do in worship. Sure. Why do you worship? You go to church and see some other people. You see the way they worship God. I'm not talking about those that do it for show now. I'm talking about those that genuinely worship God. And some of you will be like, this person is overdoing it too. We are in church. I can't do this. Which one is this one? Which one is this one? I cannot cry in church. For what? No, I cannot lie down in church. No, I can't. And dancing is going on. See this person. Must you go out to dance? No, I can't do that. You don't know the experiences of this person. You don't know the stories. You don't know where they. I think the same thing was said to David. A lot of people that didn't understand why David was dancing thought this man is doing things out of proportion. Why would you be doing this kind of dance? Don't you know that you're a king? And all that. So there's just a lot. And something came to my mind looking at the child. You see, that's why I think our faith must become like that of little children. Looking at a child. Have you ever seen a little child before when you just try to relate with that child, talk about something and just intimidate the child about something? Say, for example, just tell the child that this is my car, just fling the key and this is my car. The child will just look at you and say, me too, my daddy is going to buy my own car. Yeah. There's this awareness. I don't know how they establish that, but they believe that their father, is able, is capable, to do that. So there's a value. There's a value that they have attached to their father. There's a knowing, because they know. There's a knowing. There's a knowing. There's a knowing. And they've grown to be with that father. If they had not grown with the father, if they don't have an experience of a father, maybe it's just a mother they grew to know. They will also see mother. But whichever way, they have someone that has been providing for them. They have a relationship with that person. They've seen the person going all out. All out. So they can believe that person because they've always been with the person. And so in our own case, if we do not have that relationship, it's difficult for us to establish that kind of value that can make us to be proud of God anywhere we stand and say, my God can do this for me. Just like that little child, just feeling
You know, they don't even doubt it.
There's that kind of
And in their heart of heart, they are not even trying to just boast or anything, but they just believe. In fact, if their father will just show up at that time, they just say, Daddy, come and buy this car for me.
Yeah.
You know, they feel their father is capable of doing that because they've seen the father going to the market, buying stuff for them, bringing stuff for them and all that.
Even when they don't ask, he does.
So the same thing goes for us until, in fact, that's why we need to ask ourselves this question. Who is God to you? Or what value have you placed on God? You know, this is one of the things that we needed to have asked and then actually talk about, you know, that what or how much is God worth to you? What is God worth to you? What is God worth to you watching us on the television? Is God worth more than the girlfriend you have? Is God worth more than the wealth you have? Is God worth more than your education? Is God worth more than every other thing around
that thing you hold
or
so dear?
God is just by the way, something minor. And if you look at believers today, it's so unfortunate that we have become so guilty of placing God as not even secondary but tertiary. Like God is just by the way. If we at the end of the day get stuck somewhere, we actually can just connect to God, but in the first place he's not our priority.
Last resort.
He's not our priority at all.
Most times we tend to go to people first when we're in trouble, or when we have an idea, or when we have something that excites us. Come on, how do we see God? I know we can talk to him about everything.
And even credit when something happens. We're quick to say, it's this person that did it for me.
We don't even give credit to the person, the initiator of the whole thing. You know, most times we do things and we crash. When we crash, then we remember there's a God. But God is meant to be our first to-go person. If you have an idea in your mind, the first person you go to is God. If something hurts you or breaks your heart, the first person you go to is God. You don't have to, I don't know, place how you relate to God in, like there are some certain things you're not meant to share with God. You know, you know, that's how we feel while growing up. Like there are some things we can't talk to. You can talk to God about your heartbreak. Come on.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Why not?
You can talk to
After all,
God
he's the one
about,
that can mend your broken heart.
you understand?
So
you can talk to God about that guy wooing you, or this course you're failing, or the feelings that you're having, you know, and all. You can relate it to God. He's a person. He feels what we feel. That was why God had to send Jesus Christ to come to the earth, so that we can relate with him. He felt all we felt. He stayed with us. He left his godship, stayed with us, felt all we felt. He was hungry like the normal, usual man. He slept.
He felt pain.
He felt pain and all. If not, when he was crucified, he would just say, I am Jesus. I step into my role of Jesus. These people cannot be hurting me anyhow. No. But he felt all we feel. So that when you're able to relate with God, that anything you pass through, anything you feel, you relate with God. Do you feel like you're being trampled, like your self-esteem, someone is just trying to run smart on you and
depressed?
all? Do you feel depressed?
Do you feel like committing suicide?
Talk to God first, and trust me, he listens.
He listens.
There are no restrictions to things you can talk to God about. No, there are no restrictions. You talk to, in fact, before you even open your mouth to talk to him, he knows you. They say he perceives your thoughts from afar. Before you even come close to him in prayer to say, God, this is it. So he knows you. He knows your inmost being. You can just relate to God. And lately, I've been talking to God about different things. If I'm beginning to like somebody, you know, I'll tell God,
Hallelujah.
God, how you see how, God, I think I like this person. What do you think? Even if I don't get responses, I just feel peace. And
you just touched something that is so sensitive. You know, it says a lot about our value system as regards God, how we value God. you know, a lot of times you see when it comes to issues of relationship, immediately we just say, as guys, we just saw that lady. Just when we just meet with our guys in the crib, you know, we just begin to discuss. Oh my guy, I saw one babe. That kind of, you know, you start talking about, man, go all out for her. I know her, she's a good girl, blah, 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 blah. You talk about it. And everything gets to just flow that way until when you're about to get married to her, you now start praying.
That's when you now involve God.
Father, Lord, as we plan to get married, Lord, may you help us as we trust you for the cow and the reception venue. We have not paid for it. You can imagine the kind of request we bring to God. You see, that shows the value we attach to God. That shows how much God is worth to us. God is just worth someone that we can just relate, but we can just after we've taken the decision to actually befriend the person and even get married to the person, and then and it's funny that people tell you these days that no, God cannot choose a wife for me. As much as God has left us with the choice to choose, but he has also said, as I present to you life and death, I want you to choose life. So as much as we have our will intact and God respects it, when we subject our will, you know, to the lens of the Holy Spirit, he guides us too. And he says, no, this is not the person for you. No, shift from this. I know this person is not the way you're seeing the person. No. There's something much more that is not befitting for the calling I have for you and all that. So it's all encompassing what we're talking about you know, what God is worth. You know, it's all encompassing. It goes far deep into everything that we do. It shows whether or not God is worth more than those things around us, or God is just one of those things around us. It's so much to say about that. And if we establish that this is how much God is worth to us, then how did we establish that? What is the premise of that establishment? Is it from the knowledge of who God is, or maybe it's just from the knowledge of the things that we see him doing, or from what some people have said about him? You see, sometimes we might build the foundation of our worth, you know, to God on a faulty ground, and then it becomes a problem later in life, because a situation can come, and I'm just like you narrated the situation of that helpless child in the hospital. A situation can come that will make you begin to ask, is God really God? But there is nothing in this world that can ever change God's place. If you understand the omnipotence of God, there is no limit to his power. He is all powerful. There is nothing that will change that. If everybody dies in the world today, it will never change the fact that God is all powerful. If everybody goes hungry today in the world, it will never change the fact that God is still the great provider. It will never change the fact that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. It will never change the fact that God owns everything, that God can supply our needs according to his riches in glory. It will never change anything that God has said. It is only a manifestation of something that we have not known, because of the limitedness of our knowledge, the limitation of our knowledge. That's just it. But it can never change who God is. So if you don't build your worship on a solid foundation, you know, of the worth of God based on the right information you have and the experiences you have built over time, then there's going to be a problem at a certain time in your life. You will reach a certain time in your life when worshiping God will become difficult for you, because he has not done that thing that you expected him to do. And so you begin to attach your worship to something that God has done. It's not about who God is and what he deserves. For crying out loud, we're saying, worth-ship. What God is worth. Is there anything that God will not do or God has done that will change what God is worth? If God is worth everything, is there anything that he will refuse to do that will change that fact? Nothing. If God created the heavens and the earth, if you pray to God to help you fix the gutter in your area and that didn't happen, has it changed the fact that God created the heavens and the earth? I know you'll be like, God, if you created the heavens and the earth, help me to fix this gutter around my area and all that. And then nothing happens. And you begin to doubt that. Then your knowledge of God is on a faulty foundation. You don't understand that nothing
changes who God
is. Nothing at all.
Nothing.
You know? And that is why we always emphasize on the show here that when we talk about worship, we are not necessarily talking about even those things that we do musically or those things that we do when we gather together. Worship is just about everything that in fact, we are supposed to be worship. What did the Bible say in Romans? You know, as regards offering our lives as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable, which is our reasonable act of worship. So a lot of times we fail to understand that dimension, and then our worship life is really affected because we have not really established God's worth. What is God worth? I think we should all ask ourselves this question, not just today, not just later, but every time in our lives.
It's something
Let it be a
should
constant
ask yourself.
question. What is God worth? Okay, is God worth 2 hours of my time in fellowship than watching a movie of 3 hours? Is God worth 1 hour of my time in fellowship than spending 2 hours with my girlfriend? As much as these things are important, you need the companionship of a girlfriend, you need the companionship of a wife, of a husband, of friends, but is God's worth far and above those ones, or those ones are far and above God's worth? You see, these are things we do every day. You know, our life, the way we do things, it reflects, a lot of times it reflects how much God is worth to us.
You know, while you're speaking, I've just been praying in my mind, in my heart, that God, please help me know you. Help me know you. I know that when I know you, I will serve you better. I will respond better to you. I will worship better, you know. So I just pray that we will sincerely, from our hearts, want to grow in the knowledge of God, so that we can place value on the things of God.
This is so profound. And I think as we close, I would want us to just read Matthew 26:7.
Okay. Matthew 26:7, yeah? A woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. You
know, this story goes a long way to actually cement all that we have said in closing concerning the worth that we attach to God. If this was all that she had in wealth, because in those days they store up wealth in animals and things and all that. If this is all she has, what does that tell us about her worship to God? You know, so this is just what we need to understand, that God is worth everything. The woman with all that she had and dumped it, you know, and gave that as an offering, everything that she had, sees a lot that everything that she owns belongs to God. And so this is just the mindset that we must always, you know, grow with and always surround ourselves with as we, you know, grow in our lives of worship. Dear viewer, this is just where we can be able to reach onto this discussion. I'm sure you've been blessed. We have been blessed as well. And we believe you're going to join us again next time on the show as we continue on the worship room. do not forget that every day of your life, keep asking yourself the question, what is God worth to me? Bye-bye.